OK, Meghan Markle has been refused a British passport on the grounds of her attacks on the royal family. Is it true or is it false, Pete?
Well, one can only hope, but I don't think this one's true. But, I mean, these two seem to be in quite a little bit of... another bit of a sticky situation that they've got themselves in, because apparently the money's drying up.
How?
How? Because they made a series of really bad investments, and also a lot of the major platforms that they were first kind of did these big deals with have started to pull out. If we think about it, the Netflix stuff seems to have been a bit of a flop.
Yeah.
The guy who runs Spotify basically called them grifters. And this seems to be the problem. They're losing friends in the media industry, and they've lost most of their other friends anyway. And I think they're in quite a bit of trouble here.
Well, who would have thought it, that their woke material is not universally right?
Yeah.
And Trump by Peppa Pig, in
Yeah,
fact.
but Lois, I always remind people that you're a PR woman. What would
I
you,
used to be.
Well, what would you do with them now? Because they seem to be so jaded. I mean, I honestly believe that they have successfully persuaded the entire world that Britain is a vehemently racist country. I'm pretty upset about that. Certainly, I don't want them. America doesn't seem to want them either.
Well, what I would do is probably what Meghan's planning to do anyway, which is get divorced, and then she can go back into films. And then Prince Harry, this is what I honestly think is going to happen. He'll come home. We'll forgive him, horrible, nasty American girl, and bring him back into the fold because he's Diana's son and we still love him in our hearts.
Is he forgivable, Howard?
Yeah, boys are, girls aren't.
Oh, there we go. Nice bit of sexism.
You want to be my daughter, I tell you.
I definitely do not want to be your daughter, self-defining or otherwise.
I think we will forgive him. I tend to agree with Lois. I think there's a strategy here where she's bought into it and she's going to sell herself out of it, make loads of money, a reputation around the world's incredible, ex-wife of a potential heir to the throne.
But she's going...
that sort of thing.
Presumably she's going to continue with Meghan, Duchess of Sussex for the rest of her life.
Yeah.
In this... I mean, it's not the same as Princess Diana, but that she will use the title and milk it.
But actually, as this has gone on, I think he's been more of a willing participant in a lot of this than some people will probably be more willing to admit. You know, let's look at the book Spare. He was very happy to do a big book tour for that. He's been very happy to go along with this. No, I don't think he's running it.
What's happening?
If it was genuinely written by Harry, it would have gone, I have a bike.
Well, you know,
my bike was nice. I
don't
rode
think he
my
necessarily
bike.
wrote it, but
I'm
I mean,
very sad.
I am happy. I am unhappy.
Just no, I mean, with just this whole kind of tearing down the family thing has always been like, oh, it's Meghan pulling all the strings. I think he's been very happy to go along with it, and that's where I think a lot of people won't forgive him for what he's done. I think there's a lot of people in this country that are rightly furious with him.
Howard, would you ever accuse your brother of pushing you onto a dog bowl so shards of pottery entered your buttocks?
Pardon?
The shards of pottery in the buttocks moment was a low point in the book Spare.
Well,
and there were many low points. Also, an obsession with circumcision, strangely enough. You mentioned that a lot.
Actually, it was Circumcision Day, we're on Saturday night now, about a week ago. It was an actual thing at my church where we celebrated Jesus' circumcision.
Right. You go to a weird church. Howard, what would you do if you were his brother?
Poor Howard.
Come on, Howard.
I'm sorry, I'm finding it struggling with circumcision and baked beans. but yeah, I mean, what I do is another matter. But I do next question.
Yeah. I'll tell you what we'll do. Why don't we leave it at that?
Yeah, leave that.
Leave it at that. The shards of pottery in the buttocks was a low point even for this show. But Pete, has Meghan Markle been refused a British passport on the grounds for attacks on the royal family? Is it true or is it false?
Sadly, I think it's false.
It's absolutely false! OK, Howard, compose yourself. 1 in 5 young Americans view Osama bin Laden positively and say he was a force for good. Is it true or is it false?
Blimey, I'm staggered by this, but also I'm not surprised young people now are being educated by woke teachers and lecturers and all this sort of thing. I'm sure it comes from that sort of...
And some of the writings of Osama bin Laden have been published more recently. Yeah. And, of course, what people think about is his arguments, some of which, when it comes to the governance of Saudi Arabia, make sense. But they forget that this must all be negated. based on the violence and evil that he metes out on the world.
Well, as the next mayor of London, I don't think I'll be actually basing my manifesto on anything that Osama bin Laden wrote. So,
I wonder if that's a departure.
Oh, hello.
Now, careful what you say here. But on seriously, I'm staggered by this. I mean, if this is true or if it's false, I don't know which way to go on this one. It sounds actually it's possibly true.
But talking of the way that young people have been brainwashed, you know, there was a question on my TV show the other day with you on about what on earth we're going to do about the fact that so many young people are out marching in London for anti-Semitism and for Hamas. I mean, that is part of the same brainwashing. And let's be clear, and you know, I'm not going to accuse Sadique Khan of supporting either Hamas or anti-Semitism, but both he and the police have stood to one side, whereas I hope you do something different.
Well, it's interesting. On the train coming up to the studio today, I was right opposite two youngsters who had, guess what, Stop Oil. You know, across. And I just simply, they were I put them about 15 and 17. Very nicely presented people. I think one was called Tarquin. But anyway, but I'm not joking. I simply said to them, why do you support that? He said, well, we've got to get rid of fossil fuels and something. And the younger ones...
Oh my God! It's the bosses of Just Stop Oil. They say, "Bring on the woke rabbit." Okay, woke rabbit. You are going to defend Just Stop Oil. So, Howard, complete your story.
Well, it's an interesting thing, but the younger one who was with Stop Oil said to me, "Of course, you know it's happened this week. We've had an earthquake. That must be down to global change." And I said, "You really believe that?" They said,
you know what, though? I wouldn't trust any young people, especially American young people. They probably think 9/11 is a supermarket that opens 2 hours late.
Well, apparently, something like 20% of British teenagers believe that Nelson's column is there because of Nelson Mandela.
Oh dear.
This doesn't surprise me one little bit. And they're brainwashed, they're indoctrinated, and it's sad, and it's going to get worse.
So, woke rabbit, why is Just Stop Oil such a valid organisation, and make it fast?
Well, look, it's a known fact that fracking causes earthquakes. Hello. That's what's destroying the...
Well, you know fracking's not oil. It's gas.
Yeah, I knew that, obviously.
Out! Get out! There we go. And that is the level of knowledge that you get from the Just Stop Oil people. Although it has to be said, it really annoys me about the whole seismic event that took place in Blackpool. I mean, I lived on Lancashire Coalfield for years. The idea that something that's 1 or 2 on the Richter scale can be described as an earthquake is bananas.
Well, they're getting over the fire, don't forget, in Blackpool Tower. Don't forget. You had
Blackpool fire.
I preferred it when they blamed natural disasters like that on my kind, on gays.
God's wrath.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's your fault.
Yes.
I love the way that somebody, I think it was in Chipping Norton, certainly it was somewhere in David Cameron's constituency. He was a Tory councillor, then he became a UKIP councillor, and he blamed the flooding on homosexuality and gay marriage. And you think, well, why has Brighton not been hit by the biggest tsunami?
It's the next Atlantis.
Look, if that were true, why would you spare Brighton? It's on the coast, it's available.
Yeah. No, but I just on the actual question, the thing I found most interesting, I was reading the article where this came out from, and they were speaking to some of the families of the people who died in 9/11. They were horrified by it. You know, let's not forget that nearly 3,000 people were killed and thousands more injured. And like we've been saying, it is very, very concerning that this is becoming a very dominant narrative, particularly in that age group. If you look at the rest of the polling on this, every other age group has said it's completely negative. But on this, it was very stark.
Young people do grow out of stuff, don't they? Like, for example, anti-monarchy feeling.
Oh, my God, it's Pete and Gillian Barnes. Pete's mum and dad, he said, have you had a late night? He said, for radio listeners, he normally looks bad. He looks even worse today.
Wow, thank you, Andre. It's nice to see you too, and Happy New Year.
Hey, can I tell you, the sound people said, Pete is the one that's slightly younger than Howard Cox. Howard Cox is 70.
Oh.
Not yet.
I hate this show. I hate this show.
Howard's a 69 in so many respects.
Russell looks a good 50, then.
Yeah, somebody on Twitter the other day said I look 50. I was like, I'll take that as a compliment. Thank you very much.
Actually, compared to what I've said, it pretty much is a compliment, isn't it?
Somebody had translated the original letter, and it was on The Guardian. And The Guardian took the letter down, apparently, because
they published
said apparently
it
it was being shared out of context. I was like, Well, what
It's
context
either,
is
yeah,
there?
the context is Osama bin Laden wrote a
but
letter.
it was from like 2002 when they first published the letter, and I kind of vaguely remember there being a bit of an outcry about them actually doing that
But
in
what
the
a
first
surprise!
place.
It was the Guardian. That
Yeah,
published
I have to
it.
admit
I mean, that is a shock. Said literally no one ever.
Yeah, and the people from TikTok came out and said, "Oh, the reports of it being trending are inaccurate." And somebody on Twitter screenshotted the trending list, and it was like number 2.
It's amazing. But Howard, is it true that 1 in 5 young Americans view Osama bin Laden positively and say he was a force for good? Is it true or is it false?
Well, because it's a 20%, I think that's quite a low number. I'm going to... True.
It's absolutely and unfortunately true!
Bloody hell.
So to James, Sadique, please be true. Sadique Khan is being sued by Dutch lorry firms after he unlawfully charged them $6.5 million in ULEZ fines. Is it true or is it false?
Oh, gosh. Yeah, again, please be true. I mean, I don't understand. I mean, if you even believe that climate... Well, I believe it's happening, but if it's as bad as the doommongers say, and if we actually have any impact on it at all, these ULEZ measures, all the small measures, all the PR exercise that COP is, they will do absolutely nothing, not a jot of difference. We have China and all the other... and India.
Now, for a bonus point, James, can you tell me what Sadique Khan said that he wanted to do with all the vehicles that have been scrapped on the grounds that they're far too polluting to continue to be driven?
I know.
Said donate them
to Ukraine.
Donate them to Ukraine. Because obviously national borders make a big difference.
Well, he's obviously a complete mother trucker, but I'm glad that they've articulated their views. I got loads more jokes.
Howard, there's been a couple of reasons why people have attempted to sue. It has to be said, these people that are saying that he hasn't put up signs saying you must pay a charge, I think they're going to beat him in the end. But this is not to do with that, is it? This is to do with sending the fines late and in euros.
Those are the two major issues. I mean, it's something like 3 months late to these sort of things. They built them up and sent them all at once. And believe it or not, in British law, you have to bill it in... it's got to be billed in pounds.
Yes.
And that's the important thing to do
within
this.
a certain amount of time?
Within 30 days.
Within 30 days.
So what's effectively happened is you sat there and you're thinking that you've not racked up a charge. And there's one vehicle in particular that has racked up £400,000 in fines.
Well,
all arrived on one day.
Well, there's some small businesses in Holland, etc., are going to go bust because of this. This is very, very serious.
Communists don't care about business going bust.
Well, this is the point.
Yeah.
I mean, we know what he's like. We know the fact there's ULEZ, for example, especially in the Greater London into the boroughs area, won't make a shed load of difference to the air quality we breathe.
Yeah. What's amazing, though, Howard, is that we know Sadique Khan. I mean, I've worked in London City Hall. I campaigned against him in 2015. He will not give the slightest toss about this. The fact that companies are going bankrupt, the fact that people are suicidally depressed and panicking will be of no concern to him.
Absolutely, and he continues to bribe people like Imperial College to try and get the answers he wants to actually prove that what he's doing.
Did you see the report that came out? They were pushing it pretty hard at City Hall, and it was basically saying how much of an impact ULEZ has had. Turns out the figures they were using were TfL's own figures, so they were basically marking their own homework.
What about the Advertising Standards Authority?
Well,
did they rule against it?
Well, did they in the end?
Well, that's on the NOx thing.
know.
Actually said that he misled people saying that NOx has been reduced by 30 or 40%, and it's complete lie. It's complete disclosure.
Well, I go back to the thing you said about Imperial. I found that really concerning that one of the deputy mayors basically was emailing the author of what was supposed to be an independent report, basically saying
Imperial College, independent.
Yeah, that's right. But you know what I mean. But basically saying, can you rephrase this? And I was like, in what world does that person still have a job?
In the Ministry of Truth?
Off the top of my head, I can't remember which one. Was it? Yeah.
I've actually seen the email that she sent there. Could you rephrase it because it doesn't give us the answer we want?
The answer we want.
Awful.
How does that person still have a job? I just don't understand.
Well, how does Sadique Khan?
Well, because he's running against you.
Yeah.
Do you know what?
If he loses, and we all hope that he does, he's not going to go away. He's going to get a nice cushy job in a big international international organisation.
Or
Probably
worse,
Yeah,
the leader of the Labour Party. Yeah.
Or he might probably end up at the UN or the EU and have even more unaccountable
Pete,
power.
what's really sad is Paris Council, Susan Hall, who's actually been for 8 years. She's actually been, standing opposite him and allowed him to get away with it.
Yeah,
there's so many lies that actually have been passed. They could have got a lawyer onto that and go for him legally.
Yeah, but he is shameless.
And Keir Starmer has told me personally he's good for me for London for votes. I said, not in Bromley, not in Croydon, not down in those areas.
But unfortunately, they are treating. They've created this hugely powerful political position, and they're using it purely now in order to get their voter. Well, what's it called? Their VIs, voter intentions for the general election. And you think you've handed this guy a multi-billion-pound budget, and you just don't give a toss about the position. I'd abolish it. I mean, I think you'd abolish it as well.
I would, honestly. I'm not joking.
Once he's done 4 years.
Well, no. I told you, I think on your show earlier in the week, I would actually walk in first day, thank you, bye-bye, shut up shop, we're closing up.
That's not true, though, is it? People should still vote for you, shouldn't they, Howard?
I think they might vote for me more for saying that.
Plus, as somebody who's got experience in City Hall and one of the only people supporting Howard who does, I'll be made deputy mayor. So that's all good.
Wait a minute, he's promised that to me.
Oh, there's various deputy mayorities.
You've got to change your name to Shirley.
I'll change my name to Susan. OK. Sadique Khan, is he being sued by Dutch lorry firms?
God willing, I'm going to go with true, yeah.
It's absolutely true!
Back to that.
OK, Lois.
Yes.
Greenpeace have called for the London New Year's Eve firework display to be banned in 2024 to save the climate. Now, I've got to be honest with you, this is very much a double-edged sword for me because I would ban it on the grounds of politicisation.
Yes.
But I don't know whether Greenpeace wants it banned for green reasons.
Well, Greenpeace are not in any way green at all, and actually are, an extreme left-wing organisation and do not care about the planet one iota. They used to, but they were taken over. Yeah. There's a guy called Patrick Moore, who's one of the co-founders of Greenpeace, who's written a book. He's a friend of mine, and basically he said it was taken over, and that's one of the reasons that he left. But that's on a serious note. But on a silly note, there's fireworks all over the world. Yeah, so like CO2 emissions, if you ban it in London, you'd have to ban it everywhere else. They loved the fireworks because it was like China. It was like communist China. So going with that, I'd say Greenpeace would actually love to ban.
I've got to be honest with you, Howard. Once again, to you, the politicisation of it, I thought was dreadful, and it was literally the political message was unlimited immigration is good. Anybody who opposes it is bad.
Yeah.
Well, the only Western city, really, major city, actually was the one that politicised it. Everyone else was celebrating 2024 optimism, what we're going to do.
But Sadique Khan is so vain, isn't he, in reality?
Yeah.
I mean, I've said this before today. I think in the fullness of time, what we'll discover is he had a mum who loved him very much and he's a spoilt brat. Yeah,
but they could have had multimedia, they could have drones. Look what they did in the coronation and things like that. They had fantastic displays.
Yeah. And don't forget, it wasn't London's firework display.
This was the big point.
His. Didn't he do a bit of a Freudian slip? But he did a Freudian slip say my fireworks display, didn't he?
And then it was interesting how he dropped that after the backlash, but then it was massively in the sky.
Well, the night cost £4 million and he charged 100,000 people £20 each. That's £2 million.
Charged them?
£20. 100,000 tickets were sold for 20 quid.
This year was the first year that if you were in zone 1, that you actually had to pay for the tube.
Yes.
If I remember right.
Yes.
For another years, it had been free.
That's like that nan I read about recently who charges all of her family members, charges them for Christmas dinner.
Yeah, I read that.
and £6.50 for the kids.
Yeah. You gave her a discount.
That's your nan. Imagine if that was your nan. Jesus.
But with the fireworks, the one that really annoyed me was they were celebrating the 10 years of the passing of same-sex marriage and how London's supposed to be a great place to be gay. London now has one of the highest levels of homophobic hate crime in the country. It's a very dangerous place to be gay.
Well, I've got to be honest with you, and I've said this before. I asked the Metropolitan Police why it was that homophobic hate crime was falling across the United Kingdom, but increasing specifically in Tower Hamlets. I wrote to them multiple times asking what the profile of the offenders was, what the suspects' religions were. They would not answer. They said my request was vexatious.
Yeah.
Do you know, Andre, a few weeks ago on a Saturday, I was walking central London and there was this march going on. I took it for some sort of pride march or something, bearded men shouting quite excited at me, "Batty boy, batty boy, batty boy." But it was apparently one of those Hamas marches.
What did you do? So what you did
What
was...
happened next?
What you did was
Well, no, I just sort of
took your
gave
top
up.
off and sang "Put Your Hands Up for Detroit" while swinging it on, yeah.
But I am quite alarmed by that story because James quite famously on social media was in A&E recently to do with a personal injury, weren't you? Was that
What?
connected to Hamas?
No, that wasn't Hamas. What it was...
Do we want to go down this route?
We don't want to go down at all. Right, if it does not involve a ketchup bottle, then you can tell the story.
No, it's quite innocent, actually. But what
Okay.
happened was... the only sordid thing is that the injury was on the testicles, but it was nothing to do with sex. Nothing to do with sex. So I had to go into A&E and explain in front of the receptionist and all the other patients why I had this injury. And what happened was, of course, on the computer, Matthew Paris column came up. I thought, well, rather than read that, I'd prefer to clamp my balls in a vice. Who wouldn't, if there's an option?
It's Matthew Paris! Matthew, yes.
I know, I
what,
do
you've
like
tried
his
that
work,
yourself?
really.
Yeah, it doesn't work, does it? No. OK. Well, apparently, most of the readers don't have any balls, so it doesn't matter. OK.
Before we just a quickie, this is a serious note. On the air quality night, he's a hypocrite, bear in mind. You saw all the smoke and everything that came with these fireworks. A couple of people that actually worked closely with me had the air quality meters that night.
Oh, really?
And the normal area around where it's held, obviously by the London Eye and Westminster, it's usually good to very good, sort of the quality. It comes up green. That, within 15 minutes after the thing, it came back with dangerous.
Really?
Dangerous.
Yeah, but we don't care about that.
Now, what a hypocrite, though. This
Almost,
person.
almost as bad as the tube, then.
Yeah.
2,000% worse than roadside
OK,
level.
but Lois, here we go. Do we reckon that Greenpeace have called for the fireworks display to be cancelled next year?
No, I don't think they have, no.
It is
False.
absolutely false! By the way, I have to say, my makeup looks utterly ridiculous. I look like an extra from that TV show about Chernobyl. I look like one of the firefighters. Anyway, what are the scores? Woke Rabbit! So Woke Rabbit, you've wrecked the place.
Sorry, don't worry.
You want to cut that in?
That was The Woke That Was continues after the break. Welcome back to That Was The Woke That Was.
OK, this is a question that Pete's been looking forward to because it's the man that you look like and aspire to be.
Well,
Ricky Gervais's latest Netflix special was their most watched show on Christmas Day, despite destroying woke culture and upsetting all of the wokerati.
Yes, so I have been perpetually compared as a cheap doppelganger to Ricky Gervais for a lot of my life, actually. It's a very popular insult on Twitter, but I don't really see the insult in it. But no, I actually was one of these people that watched it on Christmas Day. I'm a big Ricky Gervais fan. I will say it's very funny, and he does tear into this particular woke culture, which Ricky Gervais has never really been a fan of. But the thing that I find most funny is that the people that get really outraged by all of this, they don't realise that they're the butt of all the jokes.
No.
It's not actually the joke
Finally.
itself. Yeah, and I put it down to what I think is a big problem in the UK. It's a chronic shortage of self-awareness. That, these people don't really get that he's taking the mickey out of you getting offended by it, not the actual situation.
They think he's taking the mick out of illegal migrants.
Yeah.
He's actually taking the mick out of Lineker.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the point. He's taking the mickey out of the people that are getting so outraged by a joke. And Ricky Gervais always makes this point that it's not serious, and we have to stop thinking that every comedian, whatever they say, is really serious. And Dave Chappelle has just had a brand new special that's come out on Netflix, and he's another one. He tears into the transgender community brutally in his other specials, and I watched the recent one as well of that, and I will admit it is absolutely hilarious. But it's really cleverly done how he kind of takes you down one kind of path and then just diverts and just makes a trans joke out of it. It's very impressive how he does it. But yeah, I just don't understand how we've got to a point in our society where we suddenly realise that whatever a comedian says is suddenly their actual opinion. We have to get out of it.
Ricky Gervais did say that nobody walks up to Sir Anthony Hopkins and goes, I'm not speaking to you after what you did in Silence of the Lambs.
Exactly.
And actually what he's supposed to do, apparently, is pretend to not be in character and be really obviously rubbish.
Yeah, I think it boils down to this idea of what we call virtue signalling, isn't it? Is that they think that these people get offended that they're a better person because they would never make the joke.
And that's because religion is now not part of people's lives. So now, I'm not saying everyone needs to be super religious. Of course they don't. But when you've got cults like Just Stop Oil, you've got cults like wokeism.
Yeah.
You know, that makes them feel morally superior.
But isn't the truth of it? And I've seen it a lot of times where these people are morally inferior. I'll give you an example. When I watched the whole situation in Hollywood with the Me Too movement, look. The reality was the Me Too movement came about because of the poor standards of behaviour in Hollywood. And then the very people who'd been part of that Hollywood establishment were on the TV, the Oscars, going, it's a disgrace the way you're behaving.
And then
I haven't done anything.
But the only women that were vocal about it were the ones that didn't make it and get famous.
Yeah, but
I think one of
that shows potentially massive hypocrisy.
Absolutely.
I think, you know, not since my Christmas enjoyable day have I had a belly laugh so much watching it since Morecambe and Wise.
Yeah.
I thought it was fantastic. And
It was.
And Mike Graham's tweet said it all in one word, genius.
Yeah. He should be on the curriculum.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But no, when we talk about hypocrisy and comedians, Frankie Boyle, his kind of 180 on this stuff is staggering. I mean, the man became famous and got very wealthy off the back of making some of the crassest jokes we've heard probably since the 1980s. You know, that was why people were drawn to him, why people liked him. And now he's all over Twitter saying you shouldn't make those kind of jokes. And I'm like, wait a minute.
I mean, the joke about Harvey, the son of Jordan, look, even if you were to have a bit of a chuckle about it, is pretty brutal when you're talking about a child.
Because
I'm uncomfortable with that.
Because I have to think, I think in Frankie Boyle's group, I think there was a streak of cruelness in it. I think, but when you watch Chappelle or Ricky Gervais or somebody like that, I don't think they're doing it to be cruel. I just think they're poking fun at something.
Maybe Frankie Boyle was on one of his tramadol nights.
Yeah, maybe.
Wasn't that the name of one of his shows?
I think it was, actually. But there's been a few comedians at the minute that have been put through the ringer. The main one has been an American.
I mean, I've got to say to you, I'm amazed by this, and I didn't know, Pete. I cannot believe that Frankie Boyle is such a goddamn hypocrite. I always knew he was a lefty. I always knew that he supported Scotland leaving the United Kingdom, even though he'd made a fortune from the BBC. But I didn't know he was so hypocritical as to have a go on behalf of the woke brigade, because he has made some of the most offensive jokes of them all. But at the end of the day, he's making a joke about a child being a rapist, and he's now complaining about Gervais making a joke about illegal immigrants. Hypocrite Boyle, you hypocrite. Unbelievable.
Yeah, it's staggering. But like I'm just saying, we've seen a couple of these comedians go through the ringer. The main one is a young guy called Matt Rife, who's he got really famous over the lockdown and through TikTok and things like that. And he's got a big international tour, and he makes a joke about domestic violence. But what was really funny is, instead of doing an apology, he did this thing on his Instagram where he said, I've written this apology. And if you click the link, it sends you to an Amazon page where you can buy a child's safety helmet. You know? He's kind of doubled down on the joke.
It amazes me, James. I was reading Jimmy Carr's autobiography, and he was basically saying, or one of his books, I forget whether it's autobiography, but he said he knows his career will be ended by a joke he's already made. What will happen is somebody will clip it out and it will catch fire, and then there will be the pile-on. So basically he says, I don't know what the joke is. I'm not particularly bothered about any of the jokes I made, but I know there will come a moment when the pile-on will happen. And so, in reality, that talks to a situation where it's just arbitrary.
Yeah, no, completely. There was some mirthless toad on Twitter calling for...
Mirthless toad?
Well done. That's why he's on the show. That's why he's on the show.
There was on Twitter calling for, pressing on about more compassion in comedy. But good comedy, how can you do good comedy with compassion? You can't.
But if you look at Ricky Gervais,
what is going to be the butt of the joke?
The Ricky Gervais jokes about Schindler's List were not endorsing the Holocaust. And if you think they were, then that's ridiculous.
Is it?
Oh my God, it's Ricky Gervais, and he said it's only fair that we have some balance. Bring on the woke weapon! Right. How many comedians should be banned because people are offended?
Probably all of them.
Right.
I like Amy Schumer. I like That's about it, really, actually.
You're probably like, what are they called, Trevor and Simon, from going live.
They were good. Swing your pants.
Swing your pants.
Yeah, swing your pants.
But look, how can you justify the idea that if anyone's offended, then everyone has to lose the right to enjoy the comedy?
Because I have a right to not be offended, obviously.
And is that right more important than my right to enjoy the comedy that I want?
My rights are more important than your rights, yes.
How compassionate is that?
Why do you think all the journalists were offended? The Guardian were particularly angry.
Yeah, they were.
Well, yeah, of course.
And by the way, the Guardian said that the national anthem was offensive.
Yeah.
I mean, good God.
I would be up to change the national anthem.
To what? All Night Long by what's his name? All Night Long.
That one, yeah.
Lionel Richie. All night.
But we need like a diverse national anthem, something to reflect our country now.
Waka Waka this time for Africa.
Yeah, why not? There you
What
go.
about Rule Britannia? It talks about the Empire.
No, we can't talk about the Empire.
But that's diverse.
I'll tell you what, we can talk about the Empire. James Whale got an MBE. I just love the fact that twice a year the words British and Empire trend on Twitter. Well done. Anyway, Wabbit, get lost! Oh, there we go. No one's applauding the word Wabbit. OK, so has Ricky Gervais's latest Netflix special become the most watched thing on Netflix in the United Kingdom on Christmas Day?
It's true.
It's absolutely true!
I will clap that.
Yeah.
That was The Woke That Was continues after the break. Welcome back to That Was The Woke That Was.
Hello and welcome back. No, this isn't Big Break. This is That Was The Woke That Was. And I'm still joined by Lois Perry, James Bembridge, Howard Cox and indeed Pete Barnes. Anyway, to you, Howard. The head of the UK Border Force has revealed that many asylum seekers were stopped at airports trying to go home to the countries they were escaping for Christmas. Is it true or is it false?
Oh, my God. When I first heard this story, I couldn't believe it that they were allowed to go home anyway. They wanted to go home for Christmas from the places they left, the places where they were so intimidated and felt in danger. It was astonishing. I mean, you know, why didn't you just open the door and say bye?
I mean,
let's go.
Just to be clear, if you fly out, do you then get the small boat back?
Well, that's what I was going to say next. I think, well, you know, they go out probably business class and come back on a was it reinforced rib? That's the word I'm looking for.
Yeah.
I find the whole thing astonishing, Lois, but we've seen Kent being absolutely taken over by these people and all these hotel rooms being taken over and they're heading back for Christmas. It reminds me, by the way, of I think we had to evacuate British nationals from Sudan and the majority of them were people who'd claimed asylum in the UK from Sudan and then gone back there on holiday. Now, to be fair...
Gone back on a trip.
Well, I mean, they had proved that the place was dangerous because they did have to later be evacuated. But the hypocrisy of actually going there...
True.
Remember, though, over Christmas, there were no boats coming across.
Yeah, that's
Well, no,
right.
because they were all on holiday. The thing is, I think they've gone
It's called
back...
the weather as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, no such thing as the weather anymore.
No,
It's an extreme weather event
Events.
due to us driving around. But, you know, I just think that they've gone back to pick up their relatives.
I have great sympathy with the migrants, though. I mean, I think if it were me and in that situation, I would risk my life on a dinghy to escape the French. I would.
What is he with the French, right? You're going to have to edit him out. I mean, he's just racially abused the French about 15 times.
Okay, I won't mention the French
I thought you were
anymore.
going to say risk your life flying Ryanair.
Oh, how awful.
That's right. Somebody once said that a Ryanair plane had been hijacked because it actually headed for the city centre. But,
I do think, though, this story shows the complete hypocrisy and the complete stupidity of this argument that these people are fleeing. And, you know, are these fleeing these war-torn places and just how horrible it is everywhere else in the world. It just blows that narrative clean out of the water.
But Pete, do the lefties actually believe that? Because, I mean, it was also, we talked about Ricky Gervais earlier. He made the joke, women and children first, oh, there aren't any. But, you know, when you see these young men turning up, I mean, I can't work out whether the left are just stupid or whether actually they know that these are economic migrants. And if that's the case, then it has to be said, the situation in Nagorno-Karabakh or Artsakh, depending on which way you call it, had there been a genocide by Azerbaijan, now to be fair, there wasn't, Had there been one, we would not have been able to take any refugees because the whole of Western Europe is full up with people who are bogus refugees pretending to be economic migrants pretending to be refugees.
Yeah, it is one of those things where you do have to wonder if there's a little bit of malice in this from the left now, that, that they're now looking at this in terms of, we're just doing it because it's a political issue. They don't really care about these migrants. I genuinely don't believe that. I don't believe that Gary Lineker really cares. I think he's using it as a political weapon,
right.
as a way to kind of beat the right or beat the Tories.
We've got to ask this question, Howard. What is going on with the major political parties? I mean, you're polling now at across the country around 12%?
Yes, 10 to 12%. That sort of thing.
I personally believe that 15 to 20% is when the leadership of local Conservative parties start to flip sides, and I believe that that's a potential avalanche at that moment. Now, you're not there yet, and you've never been there so far. But these major political parties are just letting people down left, right and centre. And it staggers me because nobody in any opinion poll, since opinion polls began, have ever supported unlimited immigration. And yet we're in a situation where it's the biggest issue.
Well, it was apparently in the Tories' manifesto, wasn't it?
Tens of thousands.
Yeah, exactly. What we got now?
Tens of millions.
Yeah.
No, I'm joking. But it's a million.
Yeah, I know that. I regularly walk my dog on Canberra Sands down to the south near Ryde, and Nigel Farage does the same thing. He's not walking his dog, but he's often going down there fishing and doing things like that. I've watched probably about 20 boats come in full of people.
You?
Yeah. I've never, ever seen a woman.
No.
Yeah.
What, in your whole life?
It's all right, Jodie, I'll be back home soon.
I'll be honest with you, the behaviour of these men, it's often as if they haven't seen a woman before
absolutely.
either.
Yeah.
Because I'll tell you what, the level of crime that goes up. Now, look, I don't have a problem with somebody being a migrant to the UK, but it has to be said, if you're coming from a country like Albania, you can get a visa and you can jump on a plane.
Yeah.
The fact that they're not doing that, I think, is an extremely telling thing.
Yeah.
But you're not going to believe this. Oh. Is that legal? Yes, I know. Bring on the woke wabbit for ballot. So come on, woke wabbit. Why are illegal migrants coming on small boats a good thing for Britain?
Well, obviously diversity. Also, I have a problem with you saying there aren't any women or children.
Oh,
I
dear.
don't know that the migrants don't identify.
Oh, they might self-identify.
Exactly.
So effectively, what we're going to do in order to ensure they're all women and children, I mean, some do self-identify as children. Let's be fair. We're going to get them all to self-identify as women, are we?
Yes, precisely. And it'll add more trans people to the community, which is what we need as well.
All right, well, Rabbit, thank you very much for the balance.
Can I just say something?
By the way, I love the way we're getting around that legal requirement. That old chestnut. Sorry, go on.
In all seriousness, we have to look at what happened in Hartlepool when we look at when you talk about
when they hung a monkey?
No, when
Do you aware of this story?
I am aware of this story.
Right,
in
let me
Hartlepool.
tell you the story of Hartlepool. This is genuinely true. Hartlepool, during the Napoleonic Wars, there was a shipwreck, and the only creature that survived was a monkey. And because it couldn't speak English and looked vaguely human but not properly human, they assumed it was French. so they hung it.
That was James's ancestors did that.
So they hung it for landing a spy mission. And unbelievably, the monkey is Hartlepool United's mascot. And when they were forced to have a directly elected mayor, they elected the monkey.
Yeah.
And they re-elected the monkey.
Oh, that's brilliant.
Yeah.
And Richard Tice is standing in Hartlepool.
He is.
He is,
Do you think he'll win this time?
I think so, yes.
He came relatively close last time.
I think,
Well, especially if they're running a monkey against him. Quite a good chance.
He could be the organ grinder.
the old one's the best.
No, that's Nigel.
Brutal.
Oh my God, can we edit that out? Please, can we edit that out?
Howard, I invite you to comment. Who is?
Oh, no.
It's the ghost of the monkey. He says, yes, it's true that Tice is the organ grinder and the monkey in Hartlepool.
Okay.
And he is the heir to the throne in that seat. There we go.
You said it, I couldn't have said it any better.
Okie dokie. So now over to you for the question. Do we believe that the head of the UK Border Force has admitted that asylum seekers have been stopped trying to go on holiday for Christmas? Is it true or is it false?
I struggled on this one, but I'm going to go with true.
It's absolutely true! OK, James, this is your specialist subject.
Right.
So come on. The Chinese chess champion has been stripped of his title after being caught cheating using an anal messaging device that he later pooed out in a bath. Is it true or is it false?
Well, you know, having experimented myself, I have some sympathy with the bloke. These things happen, you know.
I wonder if Major Charles Ingram used that method.
He did go to public school, didn't
There was I don't know if you know, but the night before there were 4 pages that were being regularly found. They believe they had one on each arm and one on each leg, not anywhere else. But
I don't understand though this story, whether it's true or false. How can you? What is this anal device?
It's easy. It's easy. You do what Charles Ingram did. You go, well, I'm thinking of doing this move, or maybe that one.
Okay.
Oh, I'll do that one.
What if he got too stimulated, though, and started, you know...
No.
No, started, you know, being really, really good at chess.
Can I tell you something?
What?
The cameraman just moved away from his monitor and looked at me in disgust. It was like that moment in South Park. Right? We're not doing that.
And they only found out he was cheating because he defecated in the bath, and then they found the device.
Apparently he had like a wild party, which I can't imagine chess players. I don't understand how he gets that wild, but yeah, they had like a wild
party.
I have no idea, but
no problem. I'll tell you what he did. It was like when Andrei Kasparov played the computer, and the computer was later found with a couple of Game Boys.
You know, but clearly he didn't think he was being checked, and it was a bit of a bum move.
Well, that joke sounded a bum note.
So where can we get this anal messaging device? Is it Anne Summers? Or...
oh my God, I haven't opened my Christmas present from you yet. It's not one of those.
I sent you a love sent.
Hang on a second. Sorry, we're just going to have to do this. So what's the answer?
Yeah.
Oh, that's it. Got it. There was a mistake on that.
In the over year that I've been doing the show, that's the funniest joke you've made.
So, Pete, why do you know about anal messaging devices?
Because I read this article, because, you know, I'm the one that reads the news, and I had to look if this was, you know, like a Babylon Bee story or something.
You had to buy one, didn't you? Just
what you actually did was you actually checked whether it was on the upper left website.
Yeah, I did. I genuinely did. I was staggered by this, but apparently, like, this guy is like the next big thing in chess. So,
well, not anymore.
Not anymore, but, you know, but they pulled out, they retook the prize money, which is like tens of thousands of pounds. It was a major competition that he was caught cheating in.
And he bought himself a really big anal messaging service.
He bought himself a set of beads.
No, but it's just this after party, you know, that they seem to have had, and he's just got absolutely ruined, and he's then defecated in a bathtub.
That is a proper party.
I mean, that's a party. I'm not
My
going to party like
parties are really tight compared to that.
And he was interviewed by Piers Morgan with his lawyer, wasn't he?
Yeah.
I've got to be
He
honest.
was the one, because he was sending in the
Exactly.
messages.
He's got the AAA batteries.
I've got to be honest with you. The only other person I've ever heard about defecating in the bath or defecating in the bath was Andre the Giant, who apparently, after he used to drink 100 ales, actually couldn't sit on the toilet because he was that heavy and the toilet used to smash under him.
Well, that's lovely. It's another question.
Wasn't there a story from like 2 years ago about a man that put some sort of World War II bomb up his cack alley or something?
What?
I'm trying to...
So is that a device too?
It's Hershey Highway.
It's Hershey.
I'll tell you what I think we're going to have to do.
We're going to have to
No, I've got now the gallery saying to me, ask Pete how the device works. No.
I actually know the answer to that question.
What?
I actually do. So basically...
What's going on?
Is
it a pager?
No. So basically, according to this thing, what he was doing was tightening his sphincter, and it had done. So basically, he'd worked out a system that he could tell by sending a message, he had written an algorithm that would then tell him the move to make, and he'd kind of worked out how many vibrations.
So just to be clear, shut up for a second. He communicated by tightening his sphincter by going 1, 2, 3, 4, and then go bo, 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 bo. You go, oh, I see.
Yeah, because in the game it was commented that every move was taking him a very long time to do.
Well, it'd take a long time. I mean, even if you communicated via sphincter morph Morse code, it would take.
Yeah, so that's essentially essentially how it works according to the article that I read.
We used to call it pelvic floor exercise.
Yeah. It's that kind of
Yeah, but
thing.
he hasn't got a pelvic floor. He's a bloke.
Right, I've had enough of this.
No.
James,
No,
look,
men have pelvic
James.
floors.
But you can't do the exercises.
no,
Yeah,
no.
I'm doing it now. I'm doing the pelvic
What,
floor
your
now.
pelvic floor?
Yes, I'm
What
doing
about you? But that's when you
It
have
helps your
it like
prostate.
that.
Yeah, women do it as well, but men do it as well too.
Right, I learned something new. Thanks,
Sorry.
Howard.
What is
With those mushrooms in the stroganoff. Okay, I don't care what any of you say now. We're moving on. Right, it's filth. It's filth. Okay. Has the Chinese chess champion put something up his bum? Is it true or is it false?
Wait for it. No, I think it's too crazy not to not. I think it's too crazy to be false. It has to be true.
It's absolutely true! Okay, Lois, compose yourself. Compose yourself. Right, you can get the answer, just tighten up and untighten. OK, Lois, Bristol University is removing blackboards from classrooms after students claimed they were racist. Is it true or is it false?
Oh, well, you mustn't discriminate against blackboards. You know, blackboards...
A whiteboard's racist.
Whiteboards are racist and blackboards matter. They really, really do. Oh, my God. You know what? Every time I think a story like this couldn't possibly be true, it does turn out to be true.
I can believe it because Bristol's such a ghastly place. I was once searching for a house or a flat share in Bristol, and the person put the advert up, Jasper, of course it'd be called Jasper, wouldn't it? And he said, in this house we're all queer or neurodiverse or disabled in some way. In other words, they don't work. And then he said, we all practice far, I think, radical left politics, I think, and as a consequence of that, in this house we've all been observing social distancing measures, masking. Can you imagine me living there? I was thinking of staying there for a year just for research for a book or something.
It's the ghost of Edward Colston, and he said, I wasn't a slave trader, you lying git. OK.
And he wasn't.
He wasn't a slave trader.
He wasn't.
I find it really funny with the Colston thing.
Britain's most famous slave trader never traded slaves.
No.
But also, it's the fact that, you know, the guy built half of Bristol, let's be honest, but they didn't try to tear down the hospital that he built, did they?
that's absolutely
it's
right.
really hilarious, just the double standard. That
Absolutely right, and that's another joke from the Gervais. OK, so very quickly, Lois, has Bristol University removed blackboards on the grounds they're racist? Is it true or is it false?
I think this might be too ludicrous even for them, so I'll say false.
It's absolutely false!
Hey, good.
So, OK,
Yeah, for
what are the final scores? Woke Wabbits! Come on, Woke Wabbits. Did you enjoy the fireworks with Sadique Khan?
I did, actually. I mean, I love the diversity about all of it. I think Greenpeace have a point in that it's not eco-friendly, but I actually have a plan. I collected all of the shrapnel and leftovers from the fireworks, and I'm going to make one big firework with them for 2025, and it's going to be the most eco-friendly and diverse fireworks display ever.
OK, who has won the quiz?
Lois.
So congratulations to Lois Perry. Thank you so much to James Bembridge. Thank you so much to Howard Cox. And thank you so much to Pete Barnes. I'm off now to do some fireworks with Sadique Khan. Goodbye.